rest my case. I rest my case. No more flat Earth, it looks like.
Oh.
Well, I always said that if they would just take a visual image, not some radio telescope bullshit that takes a computer to interpret, but a visual image that showed planets orbiting a star, I would think they actually had something. Okay? And this is what was it? Popular science. Neil deGrasse Tyson's got this big old thing where he thinks these are planets being formed around this new star outside of the Orion Nebula.
Yes, how dare we question Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Well, look at the photo, man. Look how realistic that looks.
Painting.
I've analyzed this. This is a real optical photo. I have blown this up in high res. I can confirm. I bet my life on it that this is a real photo.
That's a pretty strong bet there, dear.
Yeah, you think? See if we can get a closer look at it there. There's the photo without the captions. And there's it a little bit zoomed out. And a little more zoomed out. That's the same optical camera, same place it was filming. Nebula sure looks strange though. And it's a little more zoomed out. As you can see, there's more stars, and turns out it's just some Christmas tree lights through a sunglasses lens. What the fuck just happened? Oh wait, are you one of those silly little children that believes the moon landing is real? I don't think that's just an adult position to have anymore. Welcome to the Lost God channel.
In my heart, and baby, down in my soul. You, baby, you can't take it no more. No, I know I'm walking out that door the way you treated me too many times before. Love them, baby, too. Oh, you know I want you there, I wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side today.
Let's talk about this, y'all. That's right, y'all. No, not right, y'all. Right, y'all. This is not a live stream, nor it is a Fugazi t-shirt. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Here is a photo that I took with my Sony HDX 60x zoom, wonderful, wonderful little camcorder. Great for the price. It's sitting right behind me. I can read it. 9.2 megapixels, HDR-CX405. Relatively inexpensive for the 60x optical zoom lens. It's like a little telescope camera. And I took that image. I also took a video while I was taking that image. And that camera is perfectly level. And you know, I'm extremely familiar with computers and information technology in general, as well as most forms of things that go fast and or boom.
You like the cars that go
Yes,
boom?
I like the cars that go boom. You know Tigger and Bunny? Yeah, I fucked them. I mean, you're supposed to yell at me. It's okay to yell at. Don't give me the evil eyes. You're supposed to yell at me. They can't see you giving me the evil eyes right now. Well, I gotta switch windows and delete all the photos that I have in front of the camera just so she can see.
Fuck you.
Yeah, there you go. The evil eyes have come forth into vocal form.
Sleep your ass on the fucking couch tonight. Fucking Tigger and Bunny. The fuck?
Yep. Back in the 80s, I hit that. They were all about that bass.
Did you push it real good?
Yeah, I pushed it real good. Anyways. So, as you can see, there is a very, very small part of the moon that is being obfuscated by shadow. It is also maybe, 45 degrees, probably about 38 degrees. Of inclination. Okay. And if you were there and you were looking at this photo, and you can see from the photo how this is so, you just, you're standing there, you're looking up, there's a fucking moon, that's what it looks like. I mean, you can see on the right of the photo, if your contrast is high enough, you can see the little edge of my porch thing right there. But if you were standing there, and if you're, just anybody who's ever shot a gun or played fucking Duck Hunt on Nintendo just knows how, like, things, point, you would feel like the sunlight was coming from your toes. It was just very difficult for me to imagine. Even with what my school teachers told me was a very high IQ. Record-breaking was the word used. Several times by several different institutions in Texas and Louisiana. I was the parish gifted and talent teacher's favorite little pet for a couple of years. In fact, it would be wasn't it your uncle that would be in there, and we'd all be screaming at each other.
I would be bored, wanting to freaking go home. Or, not be late to work, one of the two.
Yes. Just debating math proofs, whether or not something proves something mathematically. Just having a good old time. You know, like yelling but laughing, you know.
Good old time. You keep using this word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Well, when I look at the alignment of the sun and the moon, the way it's supposed to be when the sun is really far away, this doesn't make sense. It seemed to me that the sunlight would have to be passing through my feet, through the ground, through the earth, to hit the moon right there. Now, it was supposed to be the case that at this point, and this is what many a troll had tried to explain to me, as if I didn't already fucking know, that in order for this visual effect to be apparent, the sun would have had to pass beyond the shadow of the earth and is illuminating the moon from the other side of the planet. The problem is, this was taken at 7:45 p.m. and the sun had just fucking set behind me. And yes, I have the time-stamped original file. Let's see here. It is come on. Transfer it on this computer. Okay. It went from one computer to a camera to another one, so I don't have a timestamp on this one. But anyways, this was taken, you know, in the evening. Not, you know, in the morning, not like 3 a.m., where the sun would have made it all the way to the other side, and there's like, you know, sunrise in Europe and shit. I think I have video of this and many, many images I took over the course of the night.
Images. We haven't done that long.
From like 8 p.m. all the way to midnight. And it just had this weird effect to it. As soon as the sun set, it looked like it was illuminating the moon from the other side of it. And it's just a personal observation. And if you're not familiar with the way things work on a basic flat Earth model, you wouldn't see why it makes a whole lot more sense on the flat Earth model. but I'm not, like, subscribing to either one. It's just that pieces of evidence like this are enough reason to admit that maybe you don't know everything that you think you know. Like, for instance, do you think that rainbows can power a spaceship? Because according to the video that NASA released, and that I snapped this photo off of the Voice of America YouTube channel, not only are there no rocket effects that, you know, like you'd expect to see from a rocket, you know, like the thing that they said they used, you know, but in addition to the lack of this propulsion system being apparent, this was the takeoff of the lunar lander for, I think, Apollo 11, something like that.
Doesn't matter if it was takeoff or set down.
But they were, no, this is takeoff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying.
And right before they blasted off, right as they blasted off, I paused it so I could see where were the rocket, you know, fume, vapor, jettison thing, plumes. And instead, I saw rainbows shooting out from the center.
Pew, pew, pew.
This is the special effects for TV of the time. This is how they did things back then. Now see, I've been an IT guy for 20 years. I've been online since before there was an internet. I was on BBSs in the 80s, okay? I have seen the evolution of computer technology firsthand, studied it very closely. And I know also the evolution of computer graphic technology. Rendering, refresh rates, triangles, that kind of thing. That gray background that you always see in the lunar landing things, where it cuts from the ground that they're on to that background, that background's not really there. That's a computer-generated grayscale image. The fact that it was grayscale is the reason why it worked. They couldn't have done it back then in color. The foreground images are a layer. Layering was well known and well, you know, widely done. Well before that time, in fact. Now, for me to say something is likely, it requires a vast preponderance of evidence. I study things a lot more closely than most people in general. And when I tell you that there's a vast preponderance of evidence that many things that we believe are true are simply not true, you're going to have to understand that unless you were the smartest kid in your class, what you're listening to right now is the opinion of that geeky guy that you probably didn't talk to because he was too busy answering the questions from the teacher. The guy that always had his hand up. Yeah, that was me. Still a smartass, still a class clown, but, you know, what do they call them kind of kids? Like, they act out because they need to be challenged.
They're
that was
challenged.
Yeah, I was understimulated.
Understimulated.
Understimulated. Yeah, that's me. I also have an aversion to bullshit. That right there, that's bullshit. And while pointing out these things might cause someone to think that they can ascribe to me as just a mere conspiracy theorist, you've got me all wrong. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am someone who studies why conspiracy theories are there, as well as why the why the components of valid ones always seem to relate to the spread of the invalid ones and the control of the interpretations of those valid ones. There's always just seems to be some kind of bigger picture going on that nobody seems to quite understand. But for anybody who rolls their eyes at conspiracy theorists, please take your time and study the drawings in front of you. You may have seen them in school, you know, if you paid attention. I'm not going to make a big thing about evolution being true or false, because to me that's one of those things that can't be answered as simple as yes or no. Creation or evolution. But I'm a marine biologist. I breed marine fish. And I've always studied all types of biology. That didn't keep me from being fooled by that when I was in high school science. You get shown these drawings that show that evolution, I mean, they're literally teaching you their religion. The religion of evolution. Through propaganda. Because those embryos at 2 weeks are bullshit. Okay? First of all, there aren't any fish embryos that I'm aware of that take longer than about 2 weeks to hatch. Just for starters, you know, I'm the fish guy. I can tell you that. So, at 2 weeks, that would be a fish swimming around. If it was
or being digested
if it was a non-pelagic or a planktonic release fish, it would look more like that salamander. Okay, but that's just because that's an embryonic yolk sac for something that's going to need you know, depending on how it develops, a lot of fucking yolk sac. And there's some fish that when they hatch, they'll swim around in the ocean with a big old yolk sac like that. I think that might be what's about to be shown right there in the bottom. That looks like probably a surgeonfish of some sort. The larvae on the left, I mean, it's a really blurry photo, but that's one of those larvae that's going to hatch out and be swimming before it fully develops its digestive system, so it has a large yolk. And I believe salamanders will actually hatch out and still have their yolks attached. So that's what that salamander looks like now. I mean, the look of an embryo is determined by the needs of the development. Lots of things have nervous systems and spines. And the fact that they're all similar, did it ever occur to people that an artist has a particular style of drawing? Now see, up top, you have an artist just drawing the same picture a bunch of times and saying it's different things. That's all that is. At the bottom, you have a story being told by an ancient artist who uses all of physics and reality to teach you this story. But you can see the common trademark design motifs. You know, it's just like Honda. You know Honda? You ever notice how a Honda vehicle always has a little bit of the signals from the Honda four-wheelers and dirt bikes? You know, they always have the little wing kind of tribute thing in there. You ever consider the possibility that God might have found a design that worked, and that's why things look alike? Arms and legs, or forearm, or forelegs and rear legs, spine, central nervous system. And that's not even always the case, and you know, evolutionists are baffled about the very aberrations from this rule, but you know what? Every artist occasionally experiments with new drugs. What? Yeah, people think they know way too much about what they think they know. Like, for instance, when you see a nuclear bomb go off and you consider the size of the crater, and the devastation that would take place in the middle of that crater, you picture a ballistically blasted bowl, just flat, carved, circular, just nothingness. And outward from that would just be everything just toppled. Nothing would be standing at all. Right?
Yeah.
Well, according to what we're told, the image you're looking at is the epicenter of Hiroshima. If you ever saw photos of Berlin after the incendiary bombs, most of the outlying areas, that's pretty much what it looked like. And you can see there, and it was known that Hiroshima and Nagasaki both had mostly wooden structures. But you can see also that most of the stone concrete type structures are still standing. And there is absolutely no blast crater to speak of. None. This was an incendiary bombing attack like any other. It was totally devastating. And the manner in which this is done, this is not a bunch of bombs. This is not many, many planes. This is one big plane. Lets out one big payload. And that payload disperses in the atmosphere. A big particulate. And this particulate mass of napalm, gasoline, when dispersed in the air, intensifies its effect when ignited. The effect isn't concussive, it is incendiary. The dispersion allows for greater ignition and causes the air itself to burn, basically.
Or releases a chemical that regulates fire or something.
Okay, so if you're a special ops guy, you know that the easiest way to bring down a building is to put a single stick or a grenade with a string fuse under a bag of flour. Okay? The reason why is because the flour, even though not being explosive, disperses in a particulate matter, and is then ignited in a chain reaction, causing a massive and devastating explosion, because it is first dispersed by the concussive power of the grenade, and then ignited by the flames of the grenade. So you wind up getting this big growing boom as the flour cloud expands with the shock wave, and then that flour, once dispersed, ignites in a big fireball. And, yeah. Anybody, Special Forces, Navy SEALs, they should all know about that. But, you know, there's lots of things people don't know. They just don't know. They think they know. They don't. So howdy, folks. Just wanted to go through this little list right quick. And by right quick, I mean this could take a while.
Yeah. Note to the sarcasm. There's a lot of that on this channel.
Yeah. Just
Just a tidbit.
So things you cannot understand or debate me on unless you realize how they are all related. Unfortunately for me, I seem to be the only one who does, and the only one who can teach this crap. And let me just say this. If it wasn't for the fact that I felt the need to do this because my country was my country was being invaded and whatnot, and like, you know, free will itself was at stake, and the survival of humanity, blah blah blah. What I mean by I'm not a conspiracy theorist is that I wouldn't have any fucking interest in any of this shit. I would not be sitting there wasting my goddamn time watching stupid fucking documentaries if I wasn't studying a propaganda effort by a foreign government to usurp the United States and basically destroy us. So, Trump Russia, just for starters. Everything I'm about to discuss has to do with Trump Russia, whether loosely related or simply a supporting topic. But to me, Trump is the last slew in a long series of attacks against our democracy and against the minds of the American people. Okay? That's very important. The fact that they've been attacking our minds, our psychology, our will, making us more divided, making us more complacent, making us more materialistic, making us less faithful to each other, to our spouses, to our communities, and to God, or to just what is right, to justice, to truth, to the American way. Not to quote Corey Feldman or anything. Yeah, big Lost Boys fan. Love that movie. Now I heard, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing a while back. Someone sitting there saying, "Oh, we should keep an eye out for the Antichrist because with all these tribulations, it seems like, you know, with Putin, he's just an evil person. And Trump, the Antichrist might appear. Oh, what is the Antichrist? Oh, the Antichrist is the person that the devil sends to deceive the world and to make God's children think that he should be their leader." And does it sound familiar? Putin sent Trump to fucking deceive everyone. Yeah. See, the fact that Christians expect the devil to be a god while they worship a man should just go to show you how fucking stupid you've all gotten. You don't think the devil's a man? Jesus is a man. You don't think the devil's a man? You were created in whose image? And you are a what? Human? So then what created you? It was a human. Gods? Aliens? Midgets? Unicorns? Dwarves? Motherfucking Eskimos? They're all fictional, yes. Eskimos are fictional. No, Eskimos aren't fictional. No, these are all fictional things, but not the Eskimos. But, well, not really dwarves, but unicorns, yeah, it's pretty fictional. Gods, like Superman type people, it's bullshit. It's just complete bullshit. There are ancient beings that all died. But they, like you, get reincarnated. Guess what they get reincarnated as? The humans. What you gotta understand about the world before what you know is that there were many different species of being. None of them were gods. Many of them tried to be gods because they didn't understand what God was. A human. And many of these races of beings got very pissed off at humans when they learned that the best that they could do was to be reincarnated as one of these lowly humans, because they didn't understand the path of humility. But I wasn't trying to have a big existential lesson on this video. Whoops. I know. But the fact of the matter is, this, what is essentially the Cold War having never ended, goes back a lot further than what you think is just the, quote, Cold War. For instance, Russia, we now know, it has been reported in a verifiable manner that before Hitler even took power, before World War I, was it? Yes, before World War I even. Russia was promoting racial division in this country. They were trying to cause hysteria, racial division in this country. And in fact, one of the reasons for the whole civil rights movement was to make us as a nation less hypocritical for national security reasons. Okay? And that has been sort of my recommendation and the purpose of this channel. What I've been saying all the fuck along, basically, is that if we want to survive as a people, we need to figure out A, what the truth is, and B, live up to our own claims of values. Now, what you don't understand about the Cold War is that you don't understand what America is, why it exists. And most of what you've been told about this has been the result of Cold War propaganda. What you got to understand about Cold War propaganda is that even what you could think was American propaganda was actually the result of America being so easily defeated in every way constantly. We have been infiltrated, we have been usurped, we have been invaded on a constant basis for over a century. It actually goes back before 1845. And really beyond that, it's the more you simply trace back the tactics and the part of the world they come from, you just start wondering, what the fuck is it? Why the fuck do they have such a problem with us? Why can't we just fucking come here and live in fucking peace? There's this part of the world in one particular direction, used to be known as the North in biblical times. And if you just look back in history, they have just fucked with us, and fucked with us, and fucked with us. It's almost as if they're the bad guys or something. Now, to understand the Horde, you have to understand terrorists, like Al-Qaeda and Russia and the regimes that Russia supports, like Syria and the Chechens who invaded Syria pretending to be a bunch of Muslim radicals. and North Korea. Lovely, fresh Russian equipment there. I mean, those things. Those are some seriously fucking badass units right there. I've seen them in action, on video. I wasn't over there or nothing. I wish. That's Islamic State right there. Meeting in Chechnya. Before they went, you know, and filmed that other video. Chechens in Syria. And then we had this big thing called Islamic State taking over, and it's no longer the varsity team, blah, blah, blah. This is all, I mean, these are sequential events that can be tracked. If you keep tracking, man, you start to find out why America exists. You track it all the way back to our founding as a nation. You can track it all the way back to why were people leaving Europe in the first place. Even better, why was it so hard to establish a land trade route through Asia? Well, it turns out there were these people in this same fucking place fucking with everyone.
No.
Look at that.
You don't.
That's exactly where Kadyrov and Putin and this whole power structure comes from. Now known as Georgia and Chechnya and Kazakhstan. That's lower Siberia. Siberia, the place where Western thought stops. We just stop being curious because it's called Siberia and that shit sounds cold. But you know, go a little past that and it ain't that fucking cold. Turns out there's millions and millions of fucking people living out there. About 100 million, in fact. And we only know about this other 100 million that lives right there. And we can't even keep track of what the fuck they're doing. They just invaded Crimea and or a quarter of Ukraine. Maybe a sixth. Maybe a sixth. Still pisses me off. You didn't learn about that in your fucking history books, did you? No, they were too busy teaching you about how fucking embryos all look the same, right? And how rainbows can fucking power a spaceship. They didn't teach you why America exists to begin with. They just vaguely referred to fleeing persecution, right? What persecution? Did they ever go into one single fucking story about what those people were being persecuted for?
Religious persecution is what
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, just religious persecution. That's pretty fucking vague. What religion was it that was persecuting them?
Well, Catholics are doing a lot of persecuting back then. And then you had the evangelicals with like the Salem witch trials and shit.
Yeah. That's funny. All these little tabloid-like stories, right? The pattern of which should sound kind of familiar by now.
Well, this has happened before.
All these little tabloid-like stories. None of them really seem enough to me for people to abandon their own fucking land on such a massive scale. This is the kind of thing that happens when an outside enemy is encroaching. And you know, Spain had been invaded, half of France had been invaded, Italy had been invaded. Greece, all the way up to Belgium. But we're supposed to blame it all on the Catholics now. You know who likes to blame everything on the Catholics? Who likes to engage in constant anti-Catholic propaganda? Oh, these same people from this fucking place, the Russians. You know, last I checked, when we were in Europe, we had this Holy Roman Church that we had converted from the Roman Empire into a Christian empire. And people were making steady progress in peace and relative seclusion. And then this big group of fucking people from this area right here, they seem to have gotten together with people from all kinds of places that we didn't even know existed, and they just started kicking the shit out of Europe for about 1,000 years straight. And that's why America exists. Not because of colonialism. Most of the places where you were told we were colonial are places that rebelled against this empire. Some of those rebellions we helped because we had trading arrangements with those people. And they reached out to the British, they reached out to the Spanish, they reached out to the Dutch, they reached out to these European countries and wanted protection. But then, of course, propaganda comes into play, and rebellions happen. And any good KGB agent will tell you that there's no such thing as spontaneous civil unrest. But what I'm telling you isn't that the history books are lying. It's that the history itself is a lie. Meant to make you turn a blind eye to the place that's been corrupting it. These historians are shown false facts. A lot of them aren't liars, though. They think what they're saying is true. Just like when people show you all the images of the pentagram and shit on Washington, D.C. Oh, look, there's lines that make a star-like thing, and, you know, Illuminati and Freemasons. Couldn't just be a long-time traditional use of sacred symbols in architecture. No, couldn't be that. But see, right in the middle of Kazakhstan, in this place called Astana, I suggest you Google it, look at the satellite view. You have a city that's in the shape of the deity Olmec. Also known as the chaotic warbringer. I call it the true face of Mars. Worshipped as Gabriel, but actually Mars. But, you know, that's for me to know and you to find out. But did all those people, you know, they didn't show you the real pictures in school. They didn't show you the pause where you could see that it was fucking clearly fake. Moon landing never fucking happened. There's just so many different ways they lied to you. And then you have all these conspiracy theorists on YouTube. They're telling you the truth. But they're showing you just bullshit.
Well, if they say they're telling
that
us
turns
the
a blind eye to Russia. That's all it does. That's all they do. That's all they do right there. They just make you turn the fucking blind eye to Russia. They can't, you know, they can show you Washington, D.C., and they can show you Roswell and all this shit, right? Did you know that The other use of the Roswell facility was to counter Russian propaganda. That's why they want the protest and shit for Roswell. It's where the anti-communist movies used to get made. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? It's like you didn't know about that entire fucking city. It makes makes Washington D.C. look like what's a good analogy? Where did the Care Bears live? Care Beria, whatever.
Carolina.
Yeah. But you know, Republicans, they love Putin because he protects the white people from the darkies and the Muslims, right? Because all Russians are white, according to Republicans, for some reason. See, I was a fresh cut in Houston, and I wanted to be a little skinhead, and I had a friend whose daddy was in the KKK, actually a former Grand Wizard of LaGrange, Texas. And they had this plan called Novorossiya. And it was what they would all do, what all the racist white people in this fucking country were planning on doing if we ever had a black president get elected. They were going to turn to Russia to defeat the Democrats, so they could get their power back and make a white America and deport all the fucking, they had all this shit planned that they're doing now in the late 80s. Okay? Back when you think the Cold War was ending. And then, right after the Boston bombing, you know what Putin did that the Republicans don't seem to know about? Not only did he launch the Islamic State, but he also had this wonderful building commission that was completed after the Islamic State took Mosul. So, his response to the uptick in Islamic extremism was to build the world's largest mosque in Moscow. Which, if you ask a Islamic extremist or read like Islamic literature, is a symbol of conquest. And that's what Republicans are supposed to be afraid of. And they were like, oh no, Obama's gonna build a mosque on the 9/11 site and shit like that. And meanwhile, they're all over Putin's nuts, and he's essentially an Islamic leader. Talk amongst yourselves. So, dear, what do you think about that?
All this has happened before, and all this happened again.
Do you feel like sitting up? Not particularly.
Freaking long week. Well, to me, this is all familiar. All this has already happened in my country once. It's just history repeating itself. It's divide and conquer. You pin religions against each other.
She's from Yugoslavia.
I thought this was established.
Not on this video.
Not on this video. I apologize. Yes, I am from Yugoslavia. I am a naturalized U.S. citizen. I have every legal right to be here. Sorry. Wait. This is not the video I'm doing?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, the fact that she's fucking being made paranoid about, like, people coming to fucking get her. My wife. Okay?
And, like, that's not even a joke.
Whose father is a veteran, by the way. Yeah. Stationed in Germany. You know. Rescued a girl from Yugoslavia. Rescued a girl from communism. They had a baby. But she wasn't technically born here.
Mm-hmm.
Been an American her whole life, basically. makes me want to do bad things to bad people.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to make us go on a tangent, but that just right there, that's the norm when Russia, takes over your country.
So let's talk, let's see, one thing at a time. I can bring this little image over here. Make us a little smaller. How about that? Where did I put it? Alright. Okay, this is gonna work. Deleting stuff, deleting stuff, deleting stuff. I just have too much crap on my list right here. Alright. So here we go. You can't understand Islamic State, Daesh, you know.
You know how Russia supplies them with all of their weaponry?
Yeah, and it's...
And how the Kazakhs go and pose as Middle Easterns fighting for the Islamic State.
Oh, right. And I've provided, plenty of photographic evidence of this, referencing videos that you can go and find on major news sources, whereas they will present a story one way but have images that show me something else. But it's not just that there were Dagestani and Uzbeki soldiers being deployed by the Russian military and posing as Islamic State in Syria. They were in Afghanistan too. And also Africa. And I mean, it just goes back, just like the propaganda efforts in this country. Their support of terrorism goes back past Islamic State, and it goes to people like Gaddafi in Libya. The whole reason why there's this whole conspiracy against Hillary Clinton is because she dared to stand up to Putin. And when you stand up against Hillary Clinton, you're standing for Islamic terrorism. Yes, when you make fun of Hillary Clinton's emails and Benghazi and all this shit, you're basically acting as a wing of the KGB. Thanks, Republicans. Bunch of fucking traitors. This right here. This is the background info that you need to understand what happened. This is the deal that was made with a fucking terrorist. Gaddafi is a terrorist. He supplied the IRA even. He's been supplying all kinds of terrorists all over the Middle East and Africa. And Russia wanted to build a base there so they could, ship things more easily. But, they said something about a protest, so, like, it's the fucking end of the world, because they said something about a protest. That means that the whole thing is Hillary Clinton's fault, because they said something about a protest, right? There's this fucking empire taking over the world, and you want to bitch about somebody who is trying to stop it because they said something about a protest. You know why they said something about a protest? Because they didn't want to fucking provoke Russia into invading Europe. Jesus. There's just so many things that are so obvious, and they're so crucial to the survival of, you know, anything worth a fuck. But anyone who tries to say anything, they just get shit canned. It's as terrifying as it is pathetic. And, you know, people like to say, the right-wingers like to complain about Hollywood as if there's some vast Hollywood conspiracy. No, there's some Hollywood producers, and some, you know, everything from regular performers to comedians, that are communists. They're leftover, like, sleeper cells from the fucking Weather Underground. And they undermine the moral fabric of America. That's what their mission was to do. And they, you know, like Weinstein, for instance, perfect fucking example. Okay. The reason why he wasn't thrown under the fucking bus a long time ago is because of this communist connection. Alright, this is a fucking mafia thing that's going on there. And most of Hollywood isn't in on it. It's just these few producers. A lot of them claim to be Jewish, but they aren't. They're fucking communists. And then you have their embrace of this, you know, basically anti-capitalism disguised as environmentalism, when basically if anybody really wanted to do something about the environment, they would say like I do. It's called poor stewardship. God commanded you to take care of these gifts, this earth that you were blessed enough to live on, and you're doing a shitty job. No one ever makes that argument, because the far left and the far right are allowed to control the conversation, and the center has no voice. They're scattered. That's the result of a divide and conquer campaign. Okay? Just like when they fund neo-fascists, when they back neo-fascists, when they send a neo-fascist to your country to have children who are neo-fascists, and then maybe one of their kids will run for president. Was that here or was that in Germany? Was that here or was that in Germany? I can't remember which one it was.
Yes.
Yeah. But what people don't understand, and what it seems like I'm the only one willing to fucking say, is that the far left is not the center. It's not. Rachel Maddow is not the far left. She's been propagandized by the far left a little bit, just like most people have been propagandized by the far left and the far right simultaneously, whether you realize it or not. In fact, frankly, Fox News lately sounds like a bunch of fucking whiny left-wing liberals to me. Complaining about fucking CIA conspiracies and shit like that. Oh, the FBI is keeping the man down. What? Come on, man. You committed a bunch of fucking crimes, you gotta do the time. Oh, and it's coming, babies. It's coming. The sealed indictment. The first sealed indictment was delivered tonight. That's fucking awesome. What's interesting to me, and what ties it all back to the ancient, age-old struggle between good and evil, is the fact that not only now, in this time period, But throughout the extent of this conflict, they have targeted Christianity itself, the ideology of Christianity, tried to corrupt it and destroy it from within, sending everyone from just asshole philosopher pundit types to corrupt evangelicals preaching prosperity gospels. And if you go back into the 1800s, into the 19th century, you have traveling, basically knowledge salesmen who would go around and preach to different churches and try to sell them different artifacts and things like that. And they were liars, and they were here making people think that they were coming to a greater understanding of Christianity. Meanwhile, everything they said was fucking subtle deceit. And what it's all been designed to do from the very beginning, for the past 1,000, 2,000 years even, is destroy the aspect of the feminine that once made Christianity the pure, infallible, unifying belief that spread like wildfire through Europe and unified Europe and most of Asia and North Africa. But now, if you want to find the esoteric truth about Christianity, you wind up finding flat earth videos. If you're looking at the world from a purely atheistic standpoint, not a scientific standpoint, that's bullshit. When somebody says scientists say, you should immediately say bullshit. Okay? Scientists don't say anything. A scientist says something. A body of scientists may agree with him. Scientists publish fucking papers. And if there is a fact that a scientific community has come to a consensus on, a scientist came up with a theory and has been commended by the such and such community. That's called not bullshit. That's when they actually have something that's worth fucking telling you. Otherwise, all these different little fucking things like gravitational waves and all this, it's all bullshit. Most of it, especially in this country, is communist infiltrators that have been sent here to waste our fucking money. Okay? Waste our minds and our money. Getting us to pay attention to a bunch of existential bullshit that has nothing to do with what we need to do to make this planet a better place. Okay? And for all of those who think that studying the stars and space is going to help us here, show me one fucking technology that you use every day that has anything to do with NASA. Show me one technology that you use at all that wasn't developed from either just simple human ingenuity or something derived from something developed during wartime. Space exploration, it's all fucking useless. It's another form of meditation meant to shut your mind down, give you something to preoccupy yourself with, so you don't focus on the fact that your country is being destroyed by another country. Space is a giant fucking kitten meme. Okay, that's all. Now, if you wonder why I have post-Yohanism right there, that's because the original truth of Christianity is that John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene were the one. Together. Them two together. Not one or the other. And Jesus is just the Gaelic word for I am. The reason why it's the Gaelic word for I am is because, well, if you read the Bible, Jesus was rejected for being a Galilean. And that's where I am in French comes from. It's from Gaelic. Spelled very similar to Jesus. Although it's more like G Swiss. I think it has something to do with cheese. Anyways. So, you tie in the history of their efforts against Christianity and their promotion of particular things that numb your mind, that preoccupy you, that make you paranoid, and that set many false idols before you. They literally seem to be doing things according to the devil's playbook. And one of those things that the devil likes you to do is think of devils as being some kind of super beings. And generally speaking, most of the rebellious ancient gods always wanted you to think that they were the ones that created you, not some all-powerful entity that would incarnate itself as one of you because it loved you so much. No, couldn't be that. It's got to be this fucking one alien or something, this guy that came here from far away. You know, you can't go find where he's from because it's just too far away, so you'll just have to take his word for it that he's not from here. Okay? And he created all of you, and you should, you know, build him pyramids and statues and shit. This ancient aliens nonsense is just that repeating itself. They're trying to get you to worship beings other than God. Plain and simple. They're trying to distract you from seeing what's really after your souls. It's not ancient aliens. It's not owls at 3 a.m. Although we had some 3 a.m. owls last night. I think we covered nuclear weapons. Why say it's a big firebomb? Why did Americans say it? Why did Americans say the moon landing happened? Why did we want a fucking movie? Why did we make a fake moon landing? Because we're fucking scared shitless. We're a nation of refugees whose very existence is at stake if we don't hold the gates. That's what the moon landing was about. And the fact that the Russian propaganda agencies have sent all these shills, they're KGB agents, to turn flat Earth into something against the United States, to turn nuclear weapons into something against the United States. It's all part and parcel of the same agenda. All these flat Earth conspiracy freaks on here, do they ever do anything with this? Do they ever mention Russia? They just constantly turn a blind eye to it. Just and they control more than you know. They have almost complete control, it seems to me, as an IT guy of 20 years. who's capable of analyzing the effects of algorithms and AI, and generally speaking, I don't have a problem understanding any new technology that comes out. I'm just not one of those people who are easily confused by digital equipment in general. But they'll come out with a conspiracy called the Mandela effect to explain what they've done to the internet search results. And then get people thinking that the Halloween episode of A Different World means that the movie Shazam didn't have Shaquille O'Neal in it. Sinbad was Sinbad. He wasn't Sinbad. He was Sinbad for Halloween on A Different World once. That's it. But there's this whole Mandela effect conspiracy making everybody fucking retarded. And guys like Joe Rogan sitting there interviewing these fucking shills, man. I don't think Joe Rogan's a shill. He's just doing what he does because that's what he does. He's making money doing it, you know? He's not, like, trying to control anybody's fucking point of view. He's just trying to make money. He's doing what's popular. But this guy, Tom DeLonge, man, if you can't tell that guy's a fucking liar, I don't like. He doesn't believe the shit he's saying. Even he's he's just fucking making it up. He knows he's lying. You just watch the Joe Rogan, Tom DeLonge explain his UFO obsession. It's bullshit. And the only real Illuminati are these fucking people I just described to you. And guess what? It's all KGB. Always has been. Always will be. Until you wake the fuck up. These guys never lost power. Especially not this one guy all the way on the left. That's Putin, right there. He's in charge now. Of everything. And as long as these other conspiracy channels, and as long as Joe Rogan lets these fucking idiots on his channel, and as long as nobody has the balls to interview me, to talk to me, these people are going to keep enslaving all of us. And all of these cooperative people it's not going to end well for you. You're not going to be rewarded for betraying your own country. You're not going to be rewarded for helping our civilization fall. So I suggest you repent, so that I can set you free. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and check the notification bell for future broadcast uploads. If I'll ever get to broadcast again. Y'all take it easy. Peace.
you treated me too many times before. Don't you know you love them, baby, too? Oh, you know I want you there, I wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side today. I've got